Welcome to another episode of the 116 Live here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Shout out to everyone that's tuned in right here, right now. I am one of your hosts, Meah Evans, holding it down here at the Reach Records studio. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. I don't know where the year has gone. I'm gonna just start right there. September came and went. Like they had somewhere they needed to be. And it's like the year has just gone by, and we're definitely chilling here, reflecting on all that the year has been, and also excited about what's to come here. We hope you guys are enjoying, and thank you for tuning in as always. We have a great episode, and I'm so excited because we've already talked so much before even the camera started rolling. So I was telling our guest this off air, and genuinely, I love being able to have guests on the show that play a big part of the Reach movement, but people who are behind the scenes, because here it is, as Reach listeners and supporters, so we hear the music, but there are so many important people, valuable people behind the scenes whose lives are so important, tell great stories, who matter. And we have one of those amazing people as our guest this week. We have Brian Richard Griffin on the show.
Hey, let's go.
Going on, Brian?
How's it going? Thank you so much. I'm so good. Thank you for having me on.
Here. No, absolutely, man. I'm trying to remember how we met. I think I was just walking around, probably getting a snack or something.
yeah.
I just saw you over on the office side, and you just always just been so great, just being able to just see, and just pleasant to always be around, say hello to. And I'm so happy that you were able to find the time to want to be here on the show. All right, so let's dive in, man.
Let's do it.
So how is life? How is life treating you? Describe what this season of life is for you right now.
Yeah. I would say my life feels very full right now.
That's good.
And I don't necessarily like the word busy, but it is like I'm leaving in the morning, early in the morning, and I'm coming back till not midnight or so, almost every weekday. That's kind of the season of life I'm in though right now. But it's just so full. It's so full of people. It's so full of God transforming lives around me and my own. So I'm just really, really thankful and grateful, especially after I've been in Atlanta for 2 years now. And I finally feel like, I've got my people. It takes a while for people, someone new to settle in. But yeah, it's been really wonderful, and God has been incredibly faithful.
No, I love that. Okay, so are you an introvert, extrovert? Are you a people person?
I'm definitely an extrovert.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So what has it been like trying to find that community? Like, how is it? I know you said it's been fulfilling, but where have those places been that you found people at, and what has it been like embracing new people, new extended family? You know what I'm saying? In your life,
for sure. I think when I was driving into Atlanta for the first time, I didn't know a soul, and I didn't know. I knew the people somewhat at Reach, but I didn't have like long-lasting relationships. And so I think moving to Atlanta, I just started to I'm just gonna cast a wide net and be out of the house as much as I can. And so that definitely came from church. It came from some different ministries I got involved in, especially the Reach circles, Christian hip hop circles, has provided such a strong sense of family and community. And I just think it's different than a lot of other places in culture that you find community,
Yeah. Have you always been someone who's valued community? Was it something that you felt like I really need that now that I'm being in a new space? Dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think for sure. I've always been relationally oriented for the most part. Also task oriented, but I think they weave in and out of each other very well. But yeah, I think as long as I can remember back, my family always went to church. I mean, it was always, we would be at church every Sunday morning. And so I think those things kind of planted seeds throughout my life. And I just love people. I mean, they're the greatest gift that we have, I think.
Bro,
is each other.
You said a gem, because I'm not going to lie to you. You always hear things like community is so important. You need community. And I'm the opposite. I'm an introvert. So it's I had a standpoint of thinking I'm great, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you really realize that you need people to get through, you know what I'm saying? To how vital has that community been for you being here, being in a whole nother state away from home? How has that been for you?
It's been so vital. The Lord has given so many more relationships than I mean depth too, depth wise. And I think something that you said was, that you're an introvert. And I think what's beautiful is that everybody has their own everybody needs something different out of community, and it looks different to other people. So what my community looks like might not be what you need, and vice versa. But that's the beauty of the body of Christ. You know what I mean? We all have different functions, and I think that works skill wise. Like we think of it here in America, I think a lot of the time, but also just like how people vibe off each other and what people can offer. So I think that's the beauty of the church, honestly.
Yeah. And you said something. No, go ahead.
No,
sorry, finish.
I just think that's the beauty of the church, and I want us. I would hope that we continue to see the beauty in that.
Yeah, there's true beauty in it. And you said something that I thought was very vital was depth. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because nothing makes me cringe more than a shallow community. You know what I'm saying? So finding the depth, and honestly, I can hear it, even how like you just gushing about people being able to fulfill you and that playing a big part of your life. Depth is such a huge thing. Like you cannot have shallow community. That's not community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I love that. That's been fulfilling for you, because I think everybody needs to be able to have that in their life. So I want you to talk a little bit about how you came into working here at Reach and the position and role that you play here.
Yeah, for sure. So I work in digital operations, which can mean a lot of things, but here at Reach, it means that I'm essentially the one getting the content onto the streaming platforms. So I'm uploading the music to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and then I'm also getting music videos across the finish line, any CD, vinyl manufacturing, things like that. But I feel like every Reach staff member wears a lot of hats, and I'm not excluded from that. So I love the variety that comes with my job, because I'm also working with editorial pitching to each of the streaming platforms, because we have editors there, and then also just creating dope activations for each of the campaigns and releases uniquely for each artist fan base.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm learning even a little bit hearing you talk right now. So when you say activations, what do you mean?
Yeah, so like maybe there's like a neat playlist or something, or we've done specific unique activations for each release. And the way that we do it for Limo Blaze might look different than what we do for What Up RG.
Got you.
And Lecrae and Jackie and so on. And so because of that, we try to make sure we're focused on what that audience fan base looks like, what they cling on to, what they enjoy, and then try to have the music live in a world that they can engage with.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a fan experience in a sense, like digitally
exactly.
in a way. Does that make sense?
Digitally and physically, like in-person events and stuff. But also digital experiences, I think is a great word for that.
Whoa, that's fire.
So yeah.
So have you always had a passion to do this?
I would say it was something that I knew I was headed towards, but I found recently. Okay. So I have always been a songwriter, and I wanted to be an artist for a long time. Through high school and college, I was a songwriter.
Yeah.
And then when I got into college, I was like, the songwriting thing isn't gonna pay well, and so I don't want it. I looked for other ways to make money and sustain myself to support that dream of being a songwriter. So through that, I started freelancing my media work. I was able to do graphic design, video production, website building, and that started to snowball through college to where I was working with small businesses. Small businesses would tell other small businesses, and it just I had more and more clientele. And it became such a big thing in my life where schoolwork was taking a back seat in college, and I was like, all right, well, this is my thing. And I was like, maybe the Lord doesn't want me to be a songwriter. Maybe he's directing me. So I started to build an agency out and work with different people. I had a few people on my team, and I was like, this could sustain me for the future after college. I applied for the Reach Records internship several years in a row, and it was my senior year that I finally heard back and got an interview. And lo and behold, I found myself in Atlanta just 2-3 weeks after that, maybe even shorter than that. And so during that internship, I realized that music business was a thing, which I didn't even know. And I feel like such a big advocate for music business because it was my two passions. I loved being an entrepreneur and what I found there and building out and stewarding a business well, but also I loved music. That was my first love. influenced my life in so many ways. And so it felt like music business, when I found it, was like, oh, this is the perfect intersection of both of those things. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm right where I want to be and I'm supposed to be. And I'm really grateful that the Lord revealed certain things in time, you know?
Yo, that's so good. What has it been like? Because you said when you discovered that music business was a thing, what was it like diving into something new, like learning something new? Can you like talk about what that was like?
For sure.
you?
The same reaction that you just had, you were like, oh, I feel like I'm learning so much. It was like, that was me for 3-4 months during my internship. It was like, I was trying to be here as much as I could. I was going home and reading articles. I just was doing a lot of like, whoa, yeah, I guess there is somebody that has to upload the music. Like, I guess there is somebody that has to, I don't take the photos of the artist, but like get those to the streaming platform editors and stuff like that, and position the artist in a way so that they feel like they have a team behind them that supports them, their brand, their mission, their vision, and just see it through that, we're helping them get to where they want to go.
Yeah, you said something that kind of stood out to me. You said you went home and read articles, and it's something about that stands out to me, Brian, only because sometimes we think we can just dive into it and it's just easy. And like yesterday, I was making a cake and I'm like, a cake's not hard to make, and like icing it, and like people on Instagram make it look easy, but then there's so much that goes into it, and I'm not even going to tell y'all what it looked like afterwards. But the fact that sometimes we think that, because I'm familiar with business, I'm familiar with music, I should be able to do it. But knowing the fact that you went home and put like the work in, talk about how, I'm even trying to think about how I want to frame this. What made you want to read those articles, and how beneficial was that for you, even in your journey of learning more into music business, into what you do now?
It feels like it was always like ingrained in me. That's what I'm saying about, like, I feel like I uncovered it. It was like, it was always there, but I didn't really know it existed, which that would be my encouragement. Side note, that would be my encouragement to the high schooler or the college student that doesn't know what they want to do. There is, whatever you love or whatever you are passionate about, there's probably someone monetizing it or, having some sort of structure that you can grow into. So make relationships, reach out to as many people as you can, build those relationships, because they will become fruitful. I think they always will become fruitful later on. But all that to say, I was actually I was a drummer in a rock band for 8 years through high school and college. And we were, or even earlier than that, it was like middle school and through high school. And we would get hired out for festivals, summer festivals, weddings.
You were on tour.
We weren't on tour, but we were regionally known. Okay,
I feel you.
We won a few Battle of the Bands and stuff like that.
Oh, Brian, you were on tour. Like, don't try to downplay this.
No, it was an awesome time of life. But the behind the scenes with that band, like, we all love playing music. We were super passionate about it. But something that I think took ownership of was like, we need a logo, we need a website, we need like. I was acting almost manager, like in that instance, because I was just like, I have an administrative mindset. I think I love the creative side, but also love the business side. So just like developing my own brand for that band, I think really launched me into like where I am now.
Yeah. So now being digital operations manager, right? Yeah. Has there been any project or campaign here at Reach that was most memorable to you, or like that was like your favorite to be a part of or to help cultivate?
The most unique one was the New Hollywood What Up RG website that we developed for this time last year. He had a release, which it had 7 levels of basically a gamified website where fans would help each other figure out what the passwords were in the Discord, and they would unlock new levels each day, and they would discover something new about the release, which, by the way, there's still a level 7 that's still locked. Stay tuned.
That is so
Stay tuned.
Creative. That's phenomenal. Did you come up with that?
It did. Yeah, it did start with us. Yeah, I mean, it's always a team effort.
Yeah,
it's always a team effort, but I kind of helped with the execution of that and had a lot of great people that were supporting that.
That is phenomenal. I love that. And I've learned a lot from just being around you guys here at Reach, just how it's possible for you to be able to do the thing,
Yeah.
but there's a creative way how we can really make it into something that people will remember, people will enjoy and consume. You know what I'm saying? And when we come back, we're going to dive more into Brian's life, what brought him to the 116 life he's living today. So don't go anywhere. It's the 116 Life here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I'm Meah Evans. We'll be right back. And we're back here on the 116 Live here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Meah Evans checking in here with our special guest for this week, Brian Richard Griffin. We're talking about a lot of different things, and we want to go ahead and dive into life now. Okay,
yeah,
so like let's go ahead and let's go back. Okay,
all right.
So talk about your upbringing and what like your childhood was like. Just kind of give us a foundation of where where life kind of started for you.
Yeah. So I call myself a fully Midwestern guy. I've lived in Michigan my whole life. Went to school in Grand Rapids at Cornerstone University, and just really had a really healthy family life. You know, I grew up in the traditional American Christian family, but I think later on I had a lot of men pour into my life and really invest in me, and I don't think that I would be the same man I am today if it wasn't for them showing me so early on in my life that like men can have vulnerability with each other. Whoa. And they enter that space first. And that's why I believe that like we were talking about depth in the first segment. But I think to take that risky step of vulnerability and open yourself up to others, you invite other people in to share a piece of themselves with you. And I think I feel very passionate and I'm an advocate of that in the world of, you know, guy friendships, because I don't know if it's found everywhere. And I think a lot of men are realizing when it's unhealthy, it's unhealthy. And I think we can like kind of model health in vulnerability with male relationships.
Yeah.
You know?
That's you. I'm sorry. I'm kind of sitting in that for a little bit, only because that's beautiful, Brian. Having men not raise you to be this tough guy, to like, you know, but raising you to be vulnerable. Yeah. Bro, that is so rare.
It's
you know
so
what
rare.
I'm saying? Who were those men that were the ones that poured into you? Like, what's your relationship with them like? What's your relationship with them today? And how they pour into you even to this moment?
TJ, Troy, Andrew, and Emery. In different seasons of my life, and really in that order. I saw men of God really pursue the Lord, love their wives well, and love their friends well, be invested in Christian community, and also serve, you know?
Yeah.
But to bridge that gap of like, we don't have to stay in our isolation, you know, as men. We can actually talk about the deeper things, and we can talk that we're sad or depressed or we're going through something, and let's bear one another's burdens, which scripture calls us to. But they showed me that in high school, in college, and I think that really showed me a different way to live that didn't have to be isolated, you know? Those men all had a profound impact on my life in different ways. That would probably be the unifying thread through them. But today, like, they're still, like, I consider them great mentors and friends.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool also seeing them grow, because now, like, a lot of them have wives and families, and I'm able to go over to their house and just spend time with them when I'm back in Michigan, of course. So I'm really grateful for the way that they've invested in me.
Yeah. That's such a valuable investment. Just because I'm just thinking about and we'll get more into this later on, but the guys that you mentor, you know what I'm saying? And how they get a chance to reap that because of what was poured into you. So now I'm starting to get a little bit of foundation, because you left Michigan to then come here to pursue your passion.
That's
and
right.
You're leaving that community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So talk about what that was like to leave a great sense of community and to come here to pursue something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. For one, my values at that time in life were a little bit different than they are now, but it was a no-brainer for me. Like Reach Records, I had always wanted to work at Reach Records. It was like the top tier goal of mine. And it wasn't my own doing. I think it was really like the Lord moving different pieces in place. But it was a no-brainer for me. That said, though, when I got here, like the loneliness of like just being uprooted from your community, because I got the email that they had offered me the internship position, and they were like, "Can you be here like Monday?" So I didn't re-sign my lease. It was really weird how things worked out. I didn't re-sign my lease. I went to my professors. I'm like, "Hey, can I go online?" And shout out to them, because I don't think it would have been the same if I couldn't have. But yeah, that time period was like, "Whoa, Lord, I need you," because I don't have the same community, and I was like, kind of ripped myself out of Grand Rapids and planting myself here. But like my one goal was like, all right, Lord, I'm relying on you. Like I came to know him more deeply and intimately because of that, which I think is really beautiful in and of itself. But
okay, so now, so I feel like we're going to jump around so many different parts of the globe.
That's fine.
Because so going from Michigan to here to Georgia.
Yep.
And then I want to talk about when you spent time in Italy for some time, because I think that's going to unlock a whole side of eureka revelations that you've had in your life. What was it like living in Italy for some time? And then how long were you there for?
Yeah. So I finished the internship at Reach here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And then shout out to my boss, Dee. She is incredible. Everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it.
I expressed to her that when she wanted to keep me on for a few months, I was like, I have these plans to study abroad in Italy. Like I wasn't planning to stick around. And she was kind of like, why don't you do both? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, go study abroad and work at the label. And I was like, you'd be okay with that?
Wow.
You'd be okay with that? Yeah. But I was so grateful, because like, I couldn't believe that was a thing that I would be able to do. And I really didn't sleep during that season, because I would like wake up and I would do class, and then I would work like all evening. But then I would also be in the middle of trying to learn a language, trying to learn the culture, how to move around the city. And then there was a whole cohort of friends, new friends that I was getting to know too. Because I didn't go with any friends either. So that was like also like another moment of like, all right, now we're picking you up again and driving you here. But
so what was it like being able to build community there?
It was very easy because of the friends that I made there. Yeah. Because I studied with other American students, which makes it easy. But yeah, the Lord really worked in my life a lot during that time. Yeah.
So now I want to ask, from a faith side, you said that you grew up around a lot of godly men, so I'm guessing that you grew up in church.
Yeah.
What, going to Rome or like Italy, getting away from American Christianity, what was it like even consuming, like being a part of a community there, and like did that influence your faith being in Italy at any point?
It definitely did. I think, to be completely honest, I think that I was a little bit let down at the time with American Christianity, just because there was like a lot of failures of like mega church pastors and different celebrities and things. And so I think maybe I was putting a lot of my faith in men who are just like me, not like imperfect men. And, but that is what I felt in the moment. And so I think when I went to Rome, there were Protestant Christians and churches locally that like didn't have the connection to like American culture. So when it comes to pace of life, when it comes to politics, when it comes to which side, I feel like we are so black and white with how we look at concepts here. And so I'm not saying I'm no expert, but I definitely learned a lot about there are people across the globe that God and the Holy Spirit is working through, despite what the current American Christian conversation is, like in the Christian mainstream, if that makes sense. Because I was so removed from it for so long that, I don't know, I just experienced God in such a much more deeply intimate way.
Yeah. What was that way like? Like how how was your experience in Italy? How did that change your perspective on God or Christianity or even maybe the church as a whole?
I think, for one, the people that I studied abroad with, I'm not gonna lie, I was really self-righteous in that season. So I was like talking poorly about other groups of Christians that I knew from, either college or like other spaces in Christian America. And I took a few months, but I was like, why are these friends that I'm around actually have fruit in their lives and I don't? And I was like, maybe their devotion, their quiet time with the Lord, their, praying without ceasing is actually what it looks like to abide. Feel me?
Whoa, yeah.
And I was like, ooh, like I was going around being all prideful and self-righteous when like the Lord wanted to show me that like, okay, well then I'm going to work through these other people and in the fruit in their lives. So.
Ooh, Brian, you said a lot.
Yeah.
You said when you had that thought of how people were living their lives and you seeing the fruit in their lives but not in yours.
Yeah.
Did that change in how you approached God or in like in your personal relationship with him?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing is, I think I spoke poorly about other people because I thought they were being performative.
Ooh, talk about that.
Which like with the resources that churches have in America and across the globe, really, we have the ability to have like almost full-on rock concerts and things, that, and there's nothing wrong with that because God speaks to everybody differently. But I think that I think I was projecting that they were being performative when really I was living the performative Christianity.
Yeah.
And so I realized that, my relationship with the Lord isn't actually, I didn't feel it was that intimate. And so, since then I've been able to like, I feel like the Lord has really shown me what intimacy with him looks like, what abiding with him looks like, which I hadn't experienced, I think, before the last year of my life. Yeah.
What do you think are some misconceptions that Western culture has that, I don't want to say that shouldn't be applied, but what are the differences you observed from American Christianity opposed to what you experienced in Rome? And were there any lessons that you walked away with?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot. One of them being just the nuance in faith. Like I said, I think in Western culture, we're very contractually based and handshakes and black and white, and it's, Republican versus Democrat. And like, there's a lot of polarizing things in our society that, make an us against them mentality. I think sometimes we look at faith the same way, like it's either this or that, it's either right or wrong. But I feel like I learned through my time in Italy that there actually can be nuance in faith. And there can be spaces where we can explore like the full human existence in walking with God. And it doesn't have to just look like one thing or another. The way that a Christian looks is, I think, by the fruit of the Spirit and the way that they live their life. It's not necessarily by how they dress or how they speak or what they associate with all the time culturally. And I think seeing the drastic differences, but the unity that I found in the love that those people shared in Italy was really reflective of the heart of God.
Oh, yo. I've always heard people talk about how, not about the importance of being able to travel, not just be able to see the world, but even as a believer, just because being able to go to different places, seeing how their relationship and how they worship and their view of God is just so powerful. And hearing just what you've been able to grasp on, I don't know, I can even see in just the points in which we've talked about and what we're going to talk more about, of just your sense of unity, of you wanting to bring people together, and even the nuances of faith that have even impacted your faith as well. And I want to dive more into that when we come back here on the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. It's the 116 Life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 116 Live here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. It's Meah here with Brian Richard Griffin.
Let's
We're talking
go.
about so much. Okay, so I'm excited to talk about this part because you've been a 116 fan for a minute.
I have.
So I want to know how old you were when you first discovered Reach. What was the artist? What was the song? What was your consumption as a 116 fan when you first discovered the music?
Such a great question. It was at Winter Jam 2012, 2013. Lecrae was on as one of the openers, and that man came out and did a backflip, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Lecrae?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I'm not gonna lie, because Crazy's a certain height.
Sure.
I didn't even think he really can move like that. I thought that's why. Shout out to Deja and David. I thought that's why they was on the tour. He did a backflip.
It might have been a dancer or something, but I just remember that
double.
being like, a stunt double, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just remember like, whoa, there are Christians that rap, because it was foreign to me. But I think Lecrae in the years following, it was Background probably was the first song that I was really into.
Okay.
Lecrae, and I think, and at the time, See Light. All right.
Yes. Right. Right.
And I think in the years following, I think Lecrae showed an example of, I mean, he was just cool for one. And so as a young man, I was drawn to that. And it wasn't like the traditional Christian radio act. But I also think he showed a really interesting way to bridge faith and culture, like those churched and those unchurched, in a way that I hadn't seen anyone else really do, or at least I haven't been exposed to it. And so I feel like that really showed me what is possible when you have relationships and you just like see people as they are. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you discovered the music here at a young age. I think that even just also helps fuel your passion when it comes to like working here, because you're also like genuinely a fan, but you remember what it was like before you even got the job here. About just wanting to consume music, be excited about a release, things like that. And I want to shift gears just a little bit, because one thing that I love that we kind of have in common is you being a middle school mentor for middle schoolers. And a lot of them are 116 fans. And I just want to know, like, what led you to want to play that role, and what has that been like, building that relationship with those guys and things like that?
Well, there was one thing that I said that I would never do, and that's student ministry.
Man, listen. Same.
I just didn't think I was cut out for it. I was not cut from that cloth. And for some reason, after my time in Rome, and the Lord was showing me so many different things, it was just this like strong compelling in my spirit. And he was like, you need to pass the torch. Like, you've had so many men pour into you. Like, you are now in that position where you can give back. So I was just like, and it was like a natural desire. I don't feel like it was a self-willed thing. And I just started looking for organizations to get involved with, and I ended up at Atlanta Central Young Life. So shout out to them. I love my team there. And my boys. So yeah.
What has it been like pouring into them, getting that same thing that you've gotten that's played a big part in your life? Just describe just what that's been like, taking on that, honestly, responsibility, because like in a way you're making disciples, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. What's really interesting, I would say the greatest reward is seeing them grow in their knowledge of God and being able to experience God in a new way, and just doing life, it's it might be Christian cliche, but it's life on life discipleship. It's not necessarily let's sit in the classroom and let me teach you about God. It is that sometimes, but also just being able to walk through life with them and like, yo, we're doing this together. And this last semester we focused on what it looks like to abide in the Lord with a heart, head, and hands. And I think I've learned just as much as they have in learning how to abide with the Lord.
Bro, that's fire. I lead a small group of middle school girls every week. So finding that out about you, it's just like, and plus middle schoolers are no joke. Like the energy runs high, but it keeps it exciting. And I just think that's just so fire, you being able to do that. They know you work at Reach?
Yes.
Okay, so are they 116 fans?
Yes.
Or like, okay, so what's that
particularly
like?
Halvey is their favorite.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, they love it, and I love to be able to, like, we listen to music in the car because I pick them up and I drop them off at school and stuff like that when we're hanging out. And so they're always like, "Can we hear the new Halvey album? Like, can you play Cry?" And that is just so sweet to me because it's just such a full circle moment, Meah, because like Lecrae, I found out about Lecrae's music in middle school. And so to now be walking with these middle schoolers and they are into Reach music, it is like this crazy full circle moment. And I just want to steward it well, which also makes me work differently here.
In what way?
It's not just a job. It's a duty here at Reach Records that I feel like I have to steward well, because it's not just, regular hip hop music or that we're marketing. It's like the gospel message in this music that's changing lives, truly. I mean, that's what Reach Records' mission is, to change the way people see the world, no matter what age or what gender or what walk of life you're from. And so I just think I move about my job differently because of that, because I'm like, this music touched my life. I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to make it reach new ears.
Yeah, that's so good. You said something that I'm trying to remember exactly what you said, but basically what it led to was the 116 like that you live, like authentically and genuinely. You know what I'm saying? Like beyond the show, beyond the music, beyond working here, and even beyond you even getting this job. The message of what Romans 1:16 is seems as if, just from hearing you talk, seems as if it's been like tattooed on your heart, like written on your heart for some time. And you said full circle moment, and I feel like, Brian, you have a lot of full circle moments when it comes to the with work, with Reach and things like that. I want you to just dive into what it means for you to wholeheartedly rep Romans 1:16 and thinking of the full circle moments in your life, just how Romans 1:16 or just being unashamed, how that bleeds into those full circle moments.
So when I talked about how I was able to work at the label and live in Rome at the same time, it's 1:16. Like Romans 1:16, I was living 2 miles from where Paul was in prison and wrote several of his epistles, okay? And so through that, it was just like, I talked about the American Christianity thing and, but there's one thing about the gospel, is that it survives and outlasts every culture, every kingdom, every nation rising and falling, okay? Every cultural moment, whatever, every one of man's failures, the gospel continues on. And has for 2,000 years. And so I think our country is so new relatively in world history. And so we have this form and this, what Christianity looks like here in America. But it's like when you go back to Rome and you see these spots and you see places across the world that there were Christians that were living and shared the same values that we share today, 2,000 years ago, that did something to my faith that was like, this gospel that I'm unashamed of, that we're repping Romans 1:16, like these words that Paul wrote are still alive and true today.
Sheesh,
you feel me?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is not attached to a cultural moment. It will outlast everything that man does. The word of God will continue to spread. So I think that just makes you live different. It's like, this is not about me. This is like so much like God's story that he's writing is in all of us. Yeah.
You said that so well. God's story that he's writing in all of us. Thinking about your story, from the men who poured into you to you leaving Grand Rapids to pursue your passion, and then going overseas to be able to study abroad and live. Oh, that's so mind-blowing. Not being far from where Paul has labeled, just so many different things. When you think about the life that you're living and the story that's been able to transform you, What do you feel like is your biggest growing point in which that has impacted who you are? Not even just in, of course, like a work sense, but just the life the story that God's telling through you.
When I look back at all of these things that I've told you about, I'm just like so moved by that. It really was none of my doing, it feels like. It feels like it was so much of Yahweh's hand, not in like the worship of the blessings that we have in life, but the way that he transforms desires, the ways that he transforms lives and turns stories around 180. That is the beautiful part of the gospel. That's the power that the gospel has that I don't think anything else in the world does have. And so I think recently I've just been learning what it looks like to intimately know God, and that his kingdom values, when you read the Beatitudes, and it's like, whoa, this is very different than what our culture values. And so continuously relearning every day, Lord, give me eyes to see your kingdom with the people around me, with the opportunities around me, that I can steward them well for your glory, not my own. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, in the next few years.
Yeah, that's so dope. And I think even the beauty about your transformation is that you're doing what God wanted you to do with those boys, which is, it's not even just you who's getting transformed. It leaks into their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's so beautiful, man. You said something key to me, that was intimacy with God. And I think over the course of your life, that's one theme I kind of sense is that the men who poured into you going overseas, you pouring into these boys, even when it comes to oh my gosh, I'm realizing this in real time, even to what you do here at Reach, just like building relationships, the intimacy a fan can feel with the music, with the artist.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I literally just realized that just within talking about that. What advice would you give to someone who's just who's lacking in that intimacy aspect, with community?
Yeah.
And even also with the relationship with God. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's lacking in those departments?
I think the way that God speaks to people is different. And I think that he reveals himself in different ways. And so I would ask him. I would ask him to reveal himself to you, and to know that your feelings don't have to rule your relationship with God. He says that he's close. You feel me? So can you walk in faith and believe that? We're so used to faith with sight. But what about blind faith? Plumb the depths with God and with other people. Tell people where you're at. Don't be scared. Be willing to open yourself up to be vulnerable and take that one step, because you don't know who is in the room struggling with the same things. And so that's probably would be my advice. Plumb the depths and let God know how you feel.
Bro, that's so good, man. Brian, thank you so much for being on this episode. And
Thank
shout
you
out
for
to
having
everyone
me.
who was able to listen and take something away. And I pray that everyone listening, they're able to get grasp the fact of how just important it is to be able to sit with God and just be able to rediscover him in ways that refreshing our faith. That's the biggest thing I got from hearing you talk.
Absolutely.
And I pray that most people got a chance to be able to hear that as well. But thank you guys again for tuning in. Shout out to Brian for holding it down with us this week, and shout out to Matt for holding on the operations as always. That's a wrap for another episode of the 116 Life here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. As always, my name is Meah Evans, and we'll see you guys next week.